Good morning. This is the Metaphysical Babes. My name is Kati. Welcome to my channel if you're new here. Today I want to talk about rituals, but in its metaphysical dimension. That if you understand in simple terms that we are more than just our bodies, we are spirit, we are a soul, we are a being, okay? We are a mixture of atoms, electrons, and so on. So we're looking at beyond what the eyes could see, beyond matter. Now I want to talk about rituals more specifically because rituals, I know a lot of people say that they were woo-woo, that they don't do anything. One video, that got a lot of attention on my YouTube channel is the video about washing your head with coffee in order to awaken your spirit. In Haitian spirituality in particular, they believe that coffee has that ability. In African spirituality, washing the head with coffee awakens, the mind and helps you connect with spirit better. In Turkish culture, they use coffee to do readings. So if you've watched this video about the coffee, the head washing coffee, if you've never watched it, I suggest go and watch it and share your thoughts in the comment. But this is what it's believed in Afro spirituality or Afro-Caribbean spirituality to do. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's mostly used for that. They even use it in different types of rituals, right? Dances, rituals, or offering rituals, and so on, right? And so that's what coffee does. So now the metaphysical, that's the metaphysical aspect of something like coffee. Now rituals, right? Let's dive into science as we know it. Science tells you, more particularly in neuroscience or neuroplasticity, tells you that, and I say this all the time on my channel, we don't experience reality, but we experience the programs. We experience reality based on the programs that we have downloaded over years, over time, right? So whatever reality you have in front of you has been passed down either from generation to generation, or you decided to accept or live that reality through the programs that you have adopted. If you want to experience a different reality, they tell you to simply change the programming of your brain, of your mind. Sounds easy, but it's not as easy. But it could be done though, because there's a lot of deprogramming that needs to be done, and then in order to upload the new software, so the deprogramming has to be done because society, we grow up in society, it is a certain way, there's a certain belief system, there's a certain, there are certain customs, and stuff like that, and we have to literally get rid of them, regulate their nervous system, bring it back to its truest, limitless self, and then decide on the reality that you want to experience. It takes a bit of work. What I don't like on YouTube is just when people say that, you can have this just like that. Yes, you can, but you have to understand there's a work that needs to be done. You don't just decide to walk. As a baby, you learn to crawl and then you start walking. It's a gradual thing. It is not just an automatic thing, especially if you've never been used to it. You can learn to own reality. One thing I'm understanding is that it's how powerful Afro spirituality has always been, but they've lied so much to people around the world when everybody could learn from Afro spirituality. There's nothing woo-woo about it. If you've ever come across the story of the Dogon people in Mali, how they were able to discover the Sirius B planet before any scientist could discover it. Till this day, scientists don't know how they even knew the existence of that planet. So how did they know that the Sirius B satellite planet existed when they had no way of finding out? How did they know before scientists could know? So imagine that particular knowledge versus the other types of knowledge that they have. If you look at African society, you can say easily, they're not as developed. They don't have anything. They don't have high rises. They're not rich. They're not this. They're not. You can say all of that. But one thing you have to understand is that they own reality. They choose to not be enthralled into material stuff the way that Western society has taught you to be. That's why there's so much suffering, because of the attachment to material things. We don't even care about the planet itself because we are so used to wanting to attain material gains that the planet doesn't even matter as long as you have those things. And what are those things? They're man-made. Just like money. Money is a man-made thing. It has that energy, indeed, okay, metaphysically speaking, because of the egregore that's been built around it. It has gained so much validity because of the egregore that's built around it. It became this thing that everybody needs. So it carries that energy. It carries your energy, my energy. Everybody on the planet that uses money as a form of exchange for transactions carries an energy. That's why they say that it's an energy. When you think of money, money comes to you, right? And if you think you're deserving of it, it comes to you. Okay, simple as that, right? So because, Western society have, taught people to care only about material things. So you are comparing your society, the Western society here, to a society like in Africa, like in a village in Africa, and you're saying, well, they're so good at manifesting. Why they don't have this and that? Why don't they have this or that? Because that was not their primary concern. Their primary concern was about knowing themselves. They tell you, which the Greek have taken and made it their thing. They say, know thyself and you will know all the secrets of the universe. There's a reason why they said that, right? Because to them, knowing themselves, which in turn would mean owning reality, was the most important thing that they could ever want to accomplish. And that's why there's such a strong sense of community and tribes and stuff like that in Africa. Has there been war? Has there been, issues, in African history? Absolutely. Just like any other society, they're going to have disagreement, But the bigger thing that ever happened to them was religion. So now I'm going a little bit off, subject here. But it just to tell you that when people are talking about Afro-spirituality in that sense, you'll find a few people quick to say that this is woo stuff. But where has everybody gotten their wisdom, or their knowledge? Really from African science, if you will, right? Middle Eastern, Africa, all that region, in Asia, all these regions, they had a lot of knowledge when it comes to science, math, technology, not technology as we know it, like those devices and stuff like that, but technology itself, right? So now it got transferred because people traveled, people wanted to discover, people traveled. The North moved to the South moved to the North, and so on. So things were shared, right? And of course, in a big part of history, he's been erased, by whoever conquered the other, and they decide this is no longer your history. Nobody's gonna know this about you. We did this, blah blah blah, and that's how you studying history. You think that, we conquered this, the Western civilization is the best civilization that ever touched the face of the earth, and this is it, and stuff like that. But what you are not realizing is that there's a big chunk of knowledge that was neglected for material gains, because they realized it was more important to conquer and have as many castles as possible. And they put religion in a way to control people, and that was the best thing that they could have done. So the world is divided, based on religion. So anyways, again, like I'm going, off track here, but you have to understand, going back to rituals are done. And neuroscience says this: the more you do something, it becomes a habit. And the habits that you form, they, eventually they build your personality. Dr. Joe says, I love to talk about Dr. Joe Dispenza because without him realizing, I guess, he's talking about, things that I've known in Afro spirituality or Haitian spirituality. Like, he has no idea. And I'm like, with What are you talking about? I've known this for years, like this knowledge, I've known it. My uncle told me about this. My aunt told me about this. Like, he's writing about it. And everybody's jumping on him because, he's a scientist. And a poor Haitian will not be even taken seriously, or poor African would not be taken seriously when they're the ones actually with the true knowledge. But anyways, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love Dr. Bruce Lipton, by the way. Check him out. He talks about epigenetics mostly. But anyways, so, you form your personality based on those habits, right? If you eat, sugar all the time, you form this sort of personality of like a sugar addict, and then you create diabetes. This is what Dr. Bruce Lipton talked about when he says epigenetics. It's not a genetic thing. It's not genetics. It's more environmental than anything. It's the way that you form the habits and stuff like that. So imagine rituals or things that they, cultures do. Like I'll take the Haitian culture for instance. They have times, different times of the year where they do rituals for whatever they want to gain, right? They want to have, or things that they want to release and things like that. So, they'll do like rituals. So these are habits that cultures have created for themselves in order to change their reality, tweak their reality for safety, for acquiring different types of knowledge. And it's, again, like I said, they were never doing those things for material gains. They were doing it because they wanted to get messages. They wanted to understand the world around them. They wanted to know what plant to use to heal themselves. You have to understand, society has, yes, the world as we know it, right, has evolved. People, they're not trying. This is not where their mind is right now. Nowadays, people are praying for material stuff. When you go to the churches, okay, they're all asking, I'm part of this too, we're all asking for material stuff. Not even asking for knowledge. They tell you in the Bible that the wisest king, King Solomon, he was asking God for wisdom. If I'm wrong, correct me. He was asking God for wisdom. Now, if you discover who King Solomon truly was, that MF, with all due respect, has had a lot of knowledge, to the point that I'm going to say that Kabbalah came, from the knowledge that he attained. So, you see, at the time, people who understand, they were not asking for material stuff because they know that the material stuff will come later. But what was most important is to know themselves, because when they knew and understand, the laws of the universe, when you know yourself, you understand the laws of the universe, you understand what vibration, frequency, and everything is, the reality becomes like your playground. Wherever you go, you become a priority. Whatever you want, it comes to you like this, right? Because the priority was not the material first. The reality was the kingdom of God within first. And then everything was going to be added into that kingdom. So you have to understand, it's not about asking for the material things. It's about owning yourself, knowing who you are, your powers, your strength, your weaknesses. Work on them, regulate yourself, because when you are most regulated, you can connect to the higher realm, your higher self, your guardian angels, your spirit team, your ancestors, God, whatever you want to call those things, the universe, whatever it is that you want to call it, whatever culture you're from. Your goal should be to know yourself and understand the laws of the universe. Understand that by creating habits like rituals, building rituals for yourself that align with who you are, that help you regulate your nervous system, help you remain calm, because the most calm you are, you're not being pulled down, in lower vibrational frequencies. You remain above, you remain in control, the easier it will be for you to be in communication with the higher realm. I watch videos about people who win the lottery. They will tell you in those videos that they manifested their wins. If you've never watched videos about people who win the lottery, go and watch. They'll tell you that they manifested their lotteries. They manifested the wins because either through meditations, they've done meditations, they have, had dreams. If you are not, again, this is why in the Bible, I don't know why churches now are telling you that it's not good to dream. This is how God communicated with people. It was through dreams, your higher self, the higher realm, the spirit realm. All that is metaphysics. Because it was not about, the material stuff, And please understand something here. A lot of, we use the term 3D reality and, stuff like that interchangeably with, like the physical plane here, and you have a tendency to think the planet itself is actually on a different dimension. 3D reality, as we know, it's the physical reality as far as like what men created, like matter, okay? The matter that men created is what we're talking about here. We walking on a road, we're on a plane, that sort of like reality is different from the planet Earth itself. You have to understand that, okay? It's not the same. That's not the same thing that we're talking about. Like nature is a different vibrational frequency. It's a different dimension than the reality, the 3D reality, as far as like matter is concerned. So I don't want this video to be too long because I'm just like spilling out, letting my thoughts spill out as I'm on my drive to the city. So you have to understand that the game itself is not owning physical stuff. It is owning yourself so that you can own reality. And I talk about owning reality all the time. And I don't mean, what I mean reality is like the way you also interact with people, with each other. Because that's part of the 3D reality. Other people are your reflections. You are like, they're all your mirror. Okay? So, all right. Now, you have to understand that the most important thing that you can conquer, like I said, times have changed. People don't go to conquer. I don't know if it was the Europeans who came with that, if it was the Mongolians. I think somehow the Mongolians also did a lot of damage when it comes to like conquest and killing people to gain, to conquer certain kingdoms and so on for power and stuff like that, right? So the game changed. It wasn't about wisdom, it wasn't about higher knowledge. It became about like physical reality, like things, material things, material gains. We have to go back to the beginning of times where the goal was wisdom in the sense of knowledge, in the sense of knowing yourself, is understanding the laws of the universe, the secrets of the universe. King Solomon knew everything. He knew how to deal with the higher realm. He knew how to deal with the lower realm. He knew how to control demons. He also knew how to invoke angels. That type of wisdom he asked God, and God gave him. It's not the wisdom that me and you, we've been taught. Forget about that. He was taught high level shit. High level shit. The sun is blinding. He was taught high level shit. How to maneuver, how to work with demons, and how to work with angels to get whatever he wanted. So he could control demons, he could control angels. That type of knowledge is the type of knowledge that he was asking for. That's the wisdom he was asking for. The wisdom to be able to control these things. They're never going to tell you that, but that's the truth about King Solomon. So your goal should be just that. Now, if you're going to work with certain, energy, make sure you know what you're doing. Everything is about discipline. Everything is about principles. And I have a video where I talk about discipline in nature. Magic is about discipline. Everything that you're going to do is about discipline. Everything in the universe is disciplined. Everything on the planet is disciplined. Even though to your eyes it may look chaotic, but it's not chaotic at all. It is where it's supposed to be. It flows the way it's supposed to flow. The stars are, the planets are aligned the way that they should be aligned. You know, we as humans, we're the ones who actually go and mess things up. But there's no chaos really in nature or the universe. Everything is discipline. So whatever you're doing is a discipline. Magic is discipline. Rituals also require certain discipline. Okay? But you have to gain the knowledge. You have to go and listen to people and find people that are talking about these things. You know? There's nothing woo about that. It's just what it is. You know? Nothing woo about that. So rituals have a scientific aspect to them, to the point that it's a metaphysical aspect. It goes beyond just pouring coffee in your head. It goes deeper than that. And if you habitually do it, it will help regulate your nervous system. It will help awaken something in yourself. And if you use coffee and your intention is for it to do just that, it will do that and more. You have to understand that as well. What is this guy doing? Why is this guy going 20 miles an hour? So guys, the best thing you could do right now is to go and study metaphysics. Robert B. Stone has a book on, you know, the use of metaphysics, you know, miracles, metaphysics or something like that. I think I posted the book. I look at the Nordic, you know, I'm gonna call it spirituality, lack of a better term, but you know, the same things that, you know, Haitian spirituality has taught me. Why is it saying? So Nordic people, you know, the same thing that I've seen in Haitian spirituality that they do, a lot of the things that they do actually in their own spirituality, in their own rituals, are things that, you know, I've seen Haitians do. Haitians themselves have messed up a lot of, you know, those things. I don't know what they're doing, some of them, but like the proper knowledge, you know, is beautiful. It's beautiful. But anyway, so I just want you to understand that the most important thing is to know yourself. Once you know yourself, you understand the laws of the universe, you can own reality. You can do whatever you want. You can say something and it comes to you. But you have to reach that level of contact with your higher self, with the higher realm. You have to maintain that. And ask for knowledge, ask for wisdom. Use your mirror. I've said this too many times. Use your mirror. Do rituals, like the coffee one is a good one. Basil's another one. Salt, vinegar, all these things to cleanse your aura, to always be in a good state. Okay, light candles, talk over your candles, and ask for your spirit team to come talk to you. In your dreams, it will come and talk to you, but you have to make sure that you're away from TVs and your phone and stuff like that. Okay. I shared a video about how you can talk over your candle. You mark your candle, you talk over your candle, a glass of water, and you go to bed, and then you will have some answers in your dreams. This is not woo-woo. This is something that I've tested. And I remember the first time I was trying this, I was so scared. I was like, what the heck? I was so scared because I didn't know how to do it, or I didn't know if I was going to have some sort of nightmare. But I did it, and, you know, I had, like, crazy dreams, okay? Crazy dreams, things that I've seen. I knew I was going to make money. I saw myself crossing a bridge, which I am right now. Funny. I'm on the George Washington Bridge. I saw myself crossing a huge bridge, you know, and I was so scared. And I did make it to the other side, and I was very happy about that, you know, like things like that. Like, you will get communication through your dreams. Pay attention to your dreams. That's important. This is how you know yourself. You can make it with the higher realm. Okay, guys, so rituals, if you think that they're a woo-woo, neuroscience, you know, that talks about the building habits, to regulate your nervous system, to reprogram or deprogram yourself and reprogram yourself in order to experience a different reality, will tell you you have to change your habits. Once you change your habits, your personality change, and your personality is there in your nervous system. You have to own your spirit. You have to reinforce, make your spirit strong. Those things are important, guys. This is how you fight the battles of life, okay? Through your spirit. This is what I've been taught. This is what I've heard, and this is what, when I've interviewed people that knew, and this is what they've told me. So make sure that you make that your priority.